Alright, Star Wars fans and YouTubers, I'm back. It's a beautiful Sunday morning here in Alaska. I was going to go to an air show, but that's pretty much out of it for today. So I am going to make a few videos, including one video I've been putting off for quite some time. Part 3 of Hasbro Has Problems, Are They With Collectors? This one I'm going to focus on distribution and on scalpers. Now I want you to know up front, a lot of this video is opinionated, my opinion. And if you disagree with me, that's fine. You can leave a comment below or even make your own video response. But I'm going to address the distribution issue and a lot of problems I have with Hasbro right now. For starters, the Star Wars Heroes line completely sucks. Believe me, when I first saw this line, I got a hold of the Vintage Jedi. He's another collector I'm really good friends with. And I told him, you know, I had no idea they're repacking Power of the Jedi figures. Now, if you don't know, Power of the Jedi is around the turn of the millennium, around 2000. It was the first what I call modern-looking figures. They no longer look like He-Man from Power of the Force 2, and they no longer look like Kenner, the old Kenner figures. They started to actually look like actual people from the movie. And, you know, more articulation and such as you went on through different lines. And I'm like, yeah, I had no idea they're repacking these. You're like, they're not. These are new figures. I almost couldn't believe these were new figures, looking at them. They're unarticulate. They're very bulky looking. They're like a disgrace to what Hasbro does. And I know some people buy them, and they're mainly made for kids, but they're not made for collectors. In fact, I honestly think if you order older figures, you know, even Power of the Jedi or up, you can get a much better figure than what you can get with this Star Wars Heroes line. All right, that's one issue. Another issue is the Phantom Menace. I cannot stand the Phantom Menace. Everyone out there pretty much knows I'm not a prequel fan. I am a big Christopher Lee fan, and the prequels do have its strong points, but the Phantom Menace is an all-time low for George Lucas, and I hate it. Wave 1 of this year was all Phantom Menace figures. And I know there are Phantom Menace fans. Be fine. You can disagree with me, that's fine. But a lot of us hate this movie. In fact, I can tell by sales, people hate this movie. The first wave this year was all Phantom Menace, as I said, and I've still seen this wave sit there at Entertainment Earth. Other waves with better figures have come and went. People have bought the wave. But even, you know, the entire Phantom Menace wave, all 12 figures from the Phantom Menace, this sat there. In fact, later waves that still have the same figures in them, like, for instance, Wave 2 had all the Blu-ray figures, and set up 7 Phantom Menace figures. They still didn't sell well, because they're still trying to push the Phantom Menace figures on us. George Lucas has failed with this movie. He needs to let it go. No matter how many times, you know, they redo Queen Amidala and some of her outfits. Some of her outfits look kind of cool, okay. Or they redo Jar Jar. We're still not going to want it as fans. In fact, their latest wave out there has Bespin Leia, which I really want. And you can get 2 of them. However, you can get 2 Jar Jar figures as well. Now, that's discouraging me from getting this wave. So, you know, George Lucas needs to let it go. He messed up. Moving on. Let's see. Distribution is different across the world. I realize this. I've gotten, you know, since I've started these videos, I've gotten a lot of viewer responses from all over the world, and I'm really pleased to be part of an international Star Wars community, and Alaska's only reviewer, as far as I know. And, you know, I've heard from people like Far East Asia, all over Europe, North and South America, and I realize distribution is different all over. I'll give you an example. A lot of the Europeans have said Wedge Antilles figure is fairly common over there, especially in the UK and Ireland. In fact, my friend Monsville 1986 did pick me up a Wedge Antilles, which I do appreciate. By the way, he's from Ireland. I said he moved to the UK in my last video. I made a mistake there. He does live in Ireland. Anyway, he told me the Wedge Antilles figures was all over in Ireland. And I told him it was really hard to get in the States. You know, you're paying like 30, 40, 50 bucks on eBay for the figure last year. I know this was last year. This was last year's Golden Child, was Wedge Antilles. However, in the States, I was able to find 2 Gamorrean guards. One at Fred Meyer, which is like a local department store, and one at Target. I was able to pick them both up. Europeans on the UK and the continental Europe have been telling me this is the hardest figure to get over here, is the Gamorrean guard. So distribution is different in different places. I realize that. That's just one example. And Hasbro doesn't seem to realize this. Let's see. Another thing, battle packs have gotten far worse lately. When I started collecting, it was the 30th anniversary. I could remember some awesome battle packs. They came with 5 figures. They came with accessories. You can even look back in Saga, like the Death Star briefing. That was 7 figures. That was an awesome battle pack, even unopened. Awesome looking Death Star battle pack. You know, during the Legacy collection, they got slightly worse. They came with 4 figures instead of 5, or maybe 3 in like a background object of some type, like an Ewok glider or something. But still, they were more modern figures, and I kind of forgave Hasbro for that. But anyway, even up to the early parts of the Vintage Collection, battle packs were still relatively good. They've gotten horrible lately. I don't like any battle packs out there. Another thing is the absence of comic packs. Now, comic packs were a good happy medium, as my cameraman told me before. He's sitting right here. I haven't had a cameraman in a long time for these videos, but he said they were a good happy medium between buying a regular figure and buying a battle pack. You got 2 figures, you got a comic book. It was a good idea. That kind of got off course as well. A lot of times, you know, to understand what's going on in any comic book, you have to buy the series. Like, I just bought Crimson Empire 3. I intend to do a video on that probably next week. All 6 comic books. And, you know, you've got to get all of them to know what's going on. A lot of times they will give us, you know, like a Rogue Squadron comic book. Somewhere in between Episode 6 and, I don't know, the Thrawn trilogy. Somewhere in that era. You know, Baron Fell's fighting Wedge Antilles or something. You don't understand what's going on. You get a comic book that's actually smaller than the one you get in the store. A few less pages, and it's like the middle of a story. And you're like, well, this is cool, but I'd like to know the rest of it. And I think they messed up with battle packs there because they didn't give us the complete story. They maybe should have taken a series and given us battle packs for each, or something like that. So I think they went wrong there with battle packs. Another thing they went wrong on, and I missed the line, is Saga Legends. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, you know, they gave us the same figure again and again and again. This was made with a good idea. It was to take popular figures from the past and repack them, the popular ones everyone wanted. And they kind of did that too much. A classic example I've mentioned before is Vader, BP and R2-D2, and 3PO on the throne from Saga. They've repacked these figures several times each. Now, if you didn't have them, you were a beginner collector, that's great. But they also had the same figures like in battle packs and stuff. They would really release again and again and again. And as I've mentioned before, there are some great figures out there. I'll say from the VOTC line and Legacy and 30th Anniversary, but we've never seen again. For instance, Wave 6 of the Legacy Collection. Everyone loved that Emperor. Everyone liked Bathrobe Luke, Leia in medical frigate gear. These were awesome figures. You never saw them again. They would have been perfect Saga Legends repacks. Also the VOTC line. Cloth Luke from Tatooine. That's where he was born. I forgot for a second. You know, I'm a Star Wars fan. I forgot. Anyway, you never saw that figure again. They had a really good R2-D2 with all the bells and whistles. You never saw that again. You know, and these figures, again, are going for like 30, 40, 50 bucks on eBay at some point. They've come down to a point. And I will admit they have addressed that to a point, because the Han Solo from VOTC, they did repack in the Target exclusive Heroes pack. So they've addressed it some, but you know, my point is there are some really popular figures of the past, and all you have to do is go on eBay and look, and they would never repack these figures. You'll never see these figures again. Not in a battle pack, not in Saga Legends. Star Wars Heroes is a horrible replacement for Saga Legends. And another thing is scalping. All right, this is an issue I would like to address with Hasbro. I think I put it together. I've gotten a lot of different opinions on this. You know, like one of my collectors said, it's kind of the thrill of the hunt. You know, like I realize Hasbro has such a huge Star Wars line, you can't have everything at once. You just can't. But you know, some really hard figures out there that went for high prices last year, you just can't get on eBay without paying, you know, under. You're not going to get them for under 30 bucks. You should be able to get them for 10 or 11 on the store. Now, you know, just some figures are just, you just can't find them. You just can't find them in your local shop. I think a lot of Star Wars collecting doesn't only come from, let me have some tea. Sorry about that, my voice is still gone a little bit. But anyway, some Star Wars figures, you know, you're just not going to get in, I realize they're not going to be at every store. I can remember, again, Wave 6 of the Legacy Collection, a great wave. They didn't have the Emperor at any store. And I remember the guy behind the camera right now said, you know, they've got it at like a Fred Meyer out of the way. You know, like, hey, could you pick it up for me? I'll give you the money. I saw all the other figures from all the other stores, but I didn't see that one. And that was kind of the thrill of the hunt. I mean, we found one Emperor. And, you know, I think I completed the wave. I never actually reviewed the Ugnaught, but I did complete the wave on that figure. And that was a very special wave. Usually the Empire Strikes Back waves are. And, you know, we were able to find it. But a lot of the figures from the Vintage Collection, I just have plain never seen on the shelves. I've never seen Ponda Baba. I've never seen Ballista Shawn, I believe her name is. You know, that figure, I've looked for her. I know she's Expanded Universe prequels, but I still think she's cool. And you're not going to get her on eBay for under 30. You know, there's just a big demand for a repack. Now, Hasbro has addressed this a little bit with Wedge and some other stuff. And I believe the Gamorrean Guard, I believe they've repacked that figure. I don't remember off the top of my head. But they've addressed it some. But, you know, they need to look at eBay and see what's going on with that. Because, as I said, Hasbro just become too big for its britches, too too multinational, too multi-franchised. And I don't think the big guys at Hasbro are really Star Wars fans, and they don't see what's going on. They don't see what's popular. And I believe this is a problem with larger stores too, because, you know, let's just say you're the manager at Walmart, okay, or someone in charge of distribution at Walmart. Now, Walmart has thousands of, you know, different companies of products they sell. Hasbro, I'm sure, is somewhat big in the toy department, but the Star Wars is a very small part of that. Now, let's just say you get stuff in, you know, Hasbro line. You get Star Wars Heroes, and you get a bunch of Phantom Menace figures. And these aren't selling. They're on the shelf, but they aren't selling. You've got a lot of stuff to look at as a Walmart manager, and you're going to look at your Star Wars toys and you go, you know, those Star Wars toys really aren't selling that well. Maybe we should give Star Wars less space, because I just don't see them moving off the shelves. And it's not that Star Wars isn't popular. He's just got figures in there that have been forced on him by Hasbro that aren't going to sell. And I think that's a problem. I literally have gone into Walmart and I've seen the same figures. Not like the same type of figures, but the exact same figures sitting there month after month. These are figures that flat out will not sell. And newer figures are out there, but, you know, they can't distribute them to the stores unless they get rid of these figures first. And that does lead to scalping. And I've noticed this on eBay. I've been tempted to become a scalper myself. I've been tempted, but I don't know. Maybe I'm not a dirty bastard. But anyway, you know, this is pressed scalpers to come out in the Star Wars universe. And I think it discourages regular collectors because, you know, like when I'm shopping at Walmart or Target or wherever, you know, if I'm there for something else, I like to look through the Star Wars section. And if they have something I like to pick it up. If I see the same figures there month after month, which I have, that really discourages me. You know, I'm just going to eBay or going to Entertainment Earth online. I've actually told other Star Wars fans about Entertainment Earth and other sites because they're going through the same thing, you know. They're looking there and they don't see anything new, and I've told them about these other sites you can order Star Wars stuff, and they seem interested. So I've given some of the distributors some business people wouldn't normally hear of. But you know, I know it's just discouraging for the average collector who likes to go to the store and just see a Star Wars figure there when he's shopping and something he hasn't seen before and pick it up. So I think Hasbro is really hurting themselves there. And you know, the scalpers market, you know, that exists on eBay and everything. And I would like to say I've seen that market before in a totally different field. These fields are going to be apples and oranges collectors, but a good friend of my dad's used to sell heavy equipment, and he went on to found a Porsche business in Nevada. And you know, I know this is comparing apples and oranges in a different era too. Before I joined the military, one of the big cars out for Porsche was the Porsche Boxster. Now that car is generally that saved Porsche from bankruptcy. That car, Porsche nearly went bankrupt with the other cars they were making, and they just weren't selling and weren't keeping up with the larger Japanese companies and so forth. And without the Boxster, Porsche would have been bankrupt. But what happened was they had two models at the time. They had the 911, and they came out with the Boxster. And people, you know, were getting on an early list for the Boxster. You know, a Boxster it started out like $45,000 in the U.S. They were paying like $2,000 getting on the list early, or making some deal with a local Porsche dealer. And they were getting the car, and they were going straight out to the DuPont registry and reselling the car like for $60,000, $70,000. And you know, they may have not have been a Porsche fan off the bat. They may have been looking to make a quick buck. And this happens with any market that you know, that has a supply and demand problem. There's heavy demand for products, and the products aren't on the shelves or aren't in the showroom or whatever. And you know, it happens. Now, you know, this local Star Wars problem, I know Star Wars collectors usually aren't Porsche collectors. Those are two totally different types of consumers. But I've just seen the similarities between the two markets. And I thought I'd bring that up. But as where Porsche was like a specialist company, you know, and they just make sports cars. I know they make an SUV and stuff now, but, you know, they're basically going to know what's going on with you know, if one of their main sports cars they don't have distribution for. They actually had to go to a Swedish company. I forget if it was Saab or Volvo. They had the contract them to make Boxsters, to get more Boxsters out on the market to meet the demand. But Hasbro being so many different franchises, I don't think they see this problem with what's going on with collections. You know, certain figures are demanding 20, 30, 40 bucks on eBay, and other figures are sitting there and they're not going to sell. So anyway, you can disagree with me if you want. Yeah, that's fine. You can tell me at the bottom what you think. You know, you're full of it, Supreme. I think you suck. Or you can tell me, you know, you're right on, or you know, whatever you want to say. I don't care. Everyone has their own opinion. Just don't say anything dirty, or I'll delete you. But anyway, thanks for your time and your patience with this video. And I am sorry about how long it's been to put this video out. But anyway, as I always say, this is Supreme signing out, and thank you for tuning in.